They pretty much grow dumbass crazy here.
There was a time of the preacher in the year of '01, when you think it's all over, it's only begun.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Preacher versus Preacher. It's a comparison companion podcast where each week we get together and we compare the show to the book it was based on from the 90s. We're talking about Preacher. Obviously, it's in the name twice. I hope you figured that out. We'll get to all that stuff. I'm Bill Sweeney. I got my buddy Dom.
What's going on, guys?
I got my brother Bob.
Hey, what's up?
And usually you can hear us on the Wicked Theory podcast. Check that out wherever you can find it because that's cool. And then joining us, as she's been doing every other week, Sarah Netzley's with us again. Sarah,
hey, glad to be back.
Hey, Sarah.
Sarah.
Hello.
Yes.
That's me clapping. And Bob, too. And Tom, too.
You can't see it, but we're standing.
That's right. Thank you. Thank
Sarah's our favorite guest on Preacher versus Preacher.
Tom, don't say that.
Just to fuck with Palmer. I'll say.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't want you to slight anybody else we might have had in season one.
I don't think we had anybody.
We had,
we had
what's his name? We had Tony.
Tony, right?
Tony from the comic shop. So you can follow all of us on Twitter. You can find Sarah Netzley at Sarah Netzley, SarahNetzley. Fun fact, she's a freelance writer for entertainmentweekly.com. I mumbled that, but I think I got it right.
Yep, you did.
Oh, thank God, because the lawyers called and they were like, you better watch it.
Quick call, huh?
But, and then Dom's at Dom_Torre, Torre.
That is it.
You can find Bob at Bob WTPC.
Yes.
All right, I'm
And
getting
you
good
can
at
find
this.
Bill
I hope I don't mess up mine.
at Wicked Theory.
Oh, thank you.
That's it. Just Wicked Theory.
Just wicked.
That is it. And then you can find this show
Yeah,
on Twitter at Preach vs Preach.
that's right.
It's like Preacher versus Preacher, just without the R's.
Yeah, without the R's.
The last two R's.
Without the
Not the
with
first
the E's
two.
and the R's.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
It's like Preacher versus Preacher without
You
the
know-
R's.
Guys, before we go on, I feel like I need to confess in class tonight,
Uh-oh.
You
in
didn't
front
watch
of
the
a
episode?
room full of college students, I referred to the Joker and then Marvel Comics, and a hue and cry rose up, and they said, but Dr. Netzley, that's DC, and I ended class right there. I sat in a corner quietly and thought about all the mistakes I'd made in life. So if you need to escort me off the program, I understand, because I misspoke in front of a room full of students, and it's horrible. Ugh.
I need to know. Did you really end the class like right then and there?
I joked like, okay, I'll show myself out. Good for everybody. And I was like, no, but really, we have 2 hours left. Sit down.
We're not anywhere near done.
Yeah. That's hysterical.
But
It's all right. We forgive you.
I think the fact that you decided to get out in front of it
Right.
before it got viral, before the world turned on you, and
could
took
happen. Yeah.
took away what basically is like your right to breathe card
Yeah.
these days. Because come on, who doesn't know that stuff?
They always say that about bad news about yourself. You got to get it out there
You gotta get out
before
in
your
front of
enemies
it.
get it out.
That's it. That's
Right.
it. And I think that was wise.
I was controlling the narrative. Yep.
There you
Control
go.
the
There you
PR
go.
spin.
All right, Frank Underwood tonight on Preacher versus Preacher.
That's it.
ladies
A
and
little bit
gentlemen.
about a little bit of who knew that you were going to get a little lesson today on all that. But hey, just goes to show you, that's you can't get away with anything these days in front of a room full of kids, young people. As soon as you started describing that, I was like, oh my God, I'm sure they all turned on. Yep, they all turned on her. That was funny.
All right, so this is usually the part of the show where we throw out a big old spoiler warning.
A little spoiler
For,
warning. A little bit more on the official business real quick. So, yeah, you can definitely find us on Preach vs. Preach. We got an email account, pvp@wickedtheory.com. And also, we're on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Music. You can subscribe. My tongue's not working.
I can tell.
Okay. Subscribe, rate, and review, because that stuff's cool. But also, we're running a contest, folks.
Oh,
just to
yeah.
kind of touch base on this real quick, because I don't want to, linger too long. I want to get right to the show. But hashtag absolute PvP contest. If you go to wickedtheory.com, in the top corner, there's a little thing you go to, tell you all about it. Actually, last episode we talked all about it at the 59-minute mark. But basically, hey, you help promote us, and we'll give you the best possible preacher book you could ever find. So just go look.
There is no better.
There is none better. This is
It's
11.
absolute.
Yeah.
This is 11. It's turned up to 11. So go check that out, and definitely check out the hashtag because you have some stiff competition starting to form up.
Yeah, Bill was telling me.
Yeah, Chad NV, last year's winner. He's making bold moves.
Yes.
He's making bold moves.
Yeah, if I understand what you were telling me, this is.
He's moving on a couple of different
Yeah.
fronts. I'll say we are recording this live.
We are.
So if anybody ever wants to try and join us live, keep an eye out for us on Mixler. Mixler.com/wicked-theory. I can see Jason Chickalise is already in the chat room. The young, viral, happy young man that he is. Viral or viral? Actually, with him, it's probably viral, right? He might have
Any V word, honestly.
Does he know that there's a shot for that?
I don't think he knows. I think by this age he would have gotten one already.
He. I mean, this is just Jay for you. He comes into the Mixler chat and he just types, "What kind of shit is this?"
What the fuck is going on in here? Is usually what he says every week.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Fucking Uncle Jay, man.
he's a regular on our other show. So if you ever want to, we don't schedule PvP like we do Wicked Theory. So if you ever want to hear PvP live, which there'll just probably be one more, you got to kind of follow us on Mixler. Hit the follow button. You'll get notifications when we go live.
Yeah, but tune in on Saturdays though, 7 p.m. Eastern for the Wicked Theory show.
It's a riotous good time.
It's riotous.
It's riotous.
I mean, yeah, that's.
Audio sounds nice tonight, says Uncle Jay from the chat room.
Well, that's a first.
Well, it happens. I guess we got lucky. I figured it out. All right. I don't have to run through 12 filters tonight.
What broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Something like
Something
that.
like that.
Some kind of. I'm not good at metaphors and euphemisms. It usually leads to trouble for me.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, now the spoiler warning that you were mentioning, Dom, is basically that this is season 2. In season 1, we kind of broke out the spoilers and we put them in the back, and it was a pain in the butt for us because we want to get right to all the meat at once. We're kind of like that kind of a breakdown. So we hope you've read the books because we're going to compare and as we recap, theorizing along the way.
Right.
And so every now and then you'll hear a fucking bell.
Yeah.
And that basically just means, hey, that's from the book. Sorry, Bob, I didn't. Yeah.
No, I'm
mean,
sorry.
like-
I was trying to.
I didn't mean to
I was
reach
trying
into
to, I
your
was trying to
zone.
be. It's my reflex. Sorry.
Okay.
We've really made this show for the book reader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we
Sure.
curated it for the book reader. So
Right.
if you've read the book and
Yeah.
you don't listen to us, like the fuck, what is wrong with you?
If you're
So-
coming
like-
late to us,
Like not even like I don't care if you were like, yo, fuck this show. The show's not the book. Like I hate it. But I love the book. Still listen to us because that's how we feel sometimes.
we
so
had a
you
guy,
might still enjoy it.
We had at least
This is
this one
true. Good
guy,
point, Dom.
this guy Adam Blackhat. I think he was listening for a little while because he was getting scooped vicariously through
Right.
us,
Right.
the breakdown, And I was like, I think it takes longer to listen to us. like you could just watch the episode in 44 minutes. But
No, I like when you guys shit on it.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
how critical you guys are.
I like how you guys just drive people away.
Yeah.
All
So
So speaking of lackluster episodes, maybe a little bit, but we'll get into it.
So, we're going to talk about one of the other episodes first, or we're going to talk about next week's now?
No,
last week's now.
I think
This current week.
The current week.
yeah, I think
Now.
that's the week it
Yeah.
is. I think it is the current week.
We're gonna get out of the past.
That's what I was trying to zero in on.
right. Gonna get this going.
It
All
is
right.
the current week.
So here we go. This is episode 12 for the season. Only
Titled-
one more. Only
Titled Lethargy, I think.
No. But on your knees, as if maybe. Are
Okay.
you tired? Are you tired of
Can't
this?
stand any longer.
Take a rest.
No energy.
But yeah, just one more after this, and then that's gonna do it.
Then the finale, the
Yeah.
big old wrap up
The
for
big-
the season.
The big old rapski, and it's over.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of that
Yeah,
at
we'll
the end
do
of the episode.
We'll do some predictions and some forethought.
Whatever we can think of.
Yeah, that we
Not
haven't
much, but
that we haven't already kind of said
this
before.
ain't Game of Thrones, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this isn't. This isn't taking 3 seasons just to tell you whose dad is who. All right. With that,
At this point, Tulip's just got to be the Night King because there's no other explanation.
Tulip is the Night King? Mm. Wait, so who's Negan in all this? I don't understand, but who's Negan? All right. So basically, this episode, it starts with R's facing Hitler. If you remember last week, they went down into the hole, the solitary hole.
Down in the hole.
And this is actually, we're in R's face's loop. Eugene, as they like to call him.
Why?
Because
Bill? Why?
Because we're going to figure out how to break the loops, finally. We're going to figure out that there's a way to kind of, this is how we escape. By trying to make different choices, by trying to, that's how you can actually kind of change what happens. And so he goes through this a bunch of times, but the girl still always kills herself, even though he's getting some change going, and Hitler's getting frustrated, because he just wants to go. I'm trying to go out the window, and the girl keeps killing herself.
Right. And I don't know if you noticed it. I'm sure you did. But every time Eugene was like halfway there, to halfway to beating the program,
Right.
the window would open up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when he failed, it would go down. Like he couldn't get it up. And then once Eugene finally like beat it, he was able to open
All
the
the way
window
up.
Right.
all the way up.
Well, the funny thing, too, is that at one point you think that he's done, like, because, like, Tracy gets shot, and then someone else is knocking on the door. So it turns out he's got these 2 other demons he has to get past, these personal demons.
This was like, honestly, this was like a video game. Like, this felt like a video game level. I felt like I just had to, like, beat, like, a couple different villains and then get out the fucking window. Like, Hitler was helping me for some reason.
Yeah.
Like,
It was a tutorial stage in a video game,
yeah.
like, you know, where you're learning how to use the guns and
it's
stuff.
the German version of Call of Duty.
Yeah. So he's...
Call of Hitler.
Jesus. Give it time.
No, that's the sequel.
Well, you know, in the eventual Preacher mobile game, you'll have Hitler as one of the characters you can probably choose.
Dear God.
Dear God, please no.
Let's get back to the
Play as
Yeah.
Humperdew.
Yeah, I'm glad the show's not a big hit right now because we'd have that.
Yeah.
So the other thing he's got to do though, he's got to confront this demon basically, which is what it comes down to. Of the mascot touched him once on a camping trip, and then what's even cooler though is that his dad comes in, and they got the guy who played his dad to come back in, and he's got the arse face going.
But this was a butthole face. This was a butthole.
He had
this.
it was much
this
more
was a
sphincter.
butthole.
Yeah. They actually did twist it up a little bit more.
Sarah, what'd you think about that butthole face? I mean, because that wasn't even.
She's just laughing.
That wasn't even like a jerked face, like from a shotgun. That was a fucking butthole on a face.
My notes indicate now that is an arse face.
I mean,
His mouth
seriously.
is much more arsey than Eugene's. Yes. But you guys,
Literally a
Yeah.
sphincter.
Yeah, I think it needed to be just a little bit lower though, and then you get the drool that you get from the book.
Right.
You know.
Take it away, Sarah.
you guys glossed over, I think, something with the mascot, which I got the impression that the mascot maybe touched Eugene in bathing suit places, and Eugene didn't appreciate that, which I thought added a whole layer of awful to Eugene's story that I was not prepared for and not expecting.
Yeah. You know, you're absolutely right. And it's one of those things where it's like, shit, like, you know, I was barreling through the notes, but you're right. Yeah. I forgot that was the context of the uncomfortable. Like, you touched me.
Yeah.
It was a touching thing going on down here.
Even when he's Eugene, I have to make him arse face. Like,
But
you know?
I feel like that kid does have a lisp a little bit. I
He's
don't
got a
know.
little
It might just
something.
be me.
I
but
think he might.
it was funny to see Sheriff Root have the arse face accent though. Like,
Yeah.
speak with that lisp and shit.
And try, yeah. When I listened to him on the call on the rewatch, it's like,
Yeah.
he tried to do it pretty good, but like he's so much clearer than Eugene. But
You think Eugene gave him lessons off screen?
probably, he's like,
So this is how you do it.
you gotta put your tongue up here and this side of your mouth.
That's a drool.
But it sounds like it was done, like, you know, it was definitely like ADR, like after the fact they had him do it again, like, you know, like the stuff on the set might have been too muffled or something, or
Right.
just wasn't being picked up right.
Yeah, but I mean, we've mentioned it on the show though. Like as the series has gone on, the voice has gotten much more like
They stopped-
watery. It's just
yeah.
like
They don't
like-
care anymore.
Yeah, you really can't understand.
We've
it,
got subtitles
which
now.
is the way it should have been. Like,
Yeah, from the
'cause
jump.
That's why the subtitles are there. You know. So
Do you think that the expense of the subtitles is why Hell looks so boring? It's just like a cafeteria room.
I didn't know subtitles were allowed.
That expensive. I didn't know that could blow. I didn't know that could blow out a
Well,
budget.
I
like
know
that.
that they have a little budget on this show. So
So
It's like the dragons on Game of Thrones,
we got
just destroying the season.
We got to save it all for the end.
the arse face special effect.
To put the R's face on a second person was like, ooh.
Not for nothing though, because they actually had to get someone's real butthole for this one. So like it must have been.
They modeled it after a real
It
life.
did
butthole.
look better. I'll tell you one thing. I paused it actually on the rewatch, and like it blended into his natural skin tones and everything, like much more realistically than it usually does on Eugene. I don't know why that is. Maybe because he's just an older guy and he's got like more kind of going on in his face or something. But whereas the kid it's all about he's smooth. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know nothing about smooth young men.
Yeah, let's stay away from that one.
Okay. So anyway, right, he's got to confront all these other demons. Like, just that's the trick of it, I guess.
Right.
So if we see anybody else try to escape, we got to keep an eye out and see if that's the mechanic. Like, oh, I figured out how to get out too.
Do you think someone else is going to escape from hell? You think we're going to see somebody?
I think coming out of the end of this, the only other person that we possibly might is going to be
The Saint.
The
All right, we'll get to that.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So this wraps up where the window finally opens after he makes his dad proud and he gives him a hug. Because at first Dad's like, finish the job.
Right, and he's very like lovey. He's very sentimental.
He turns real easy though. Because at first
Which
he's like,
is
you
like-
got to finish the job. And then he's like, but then Eugene says a couple of things. And then Dad's like, grabs him by the shoulders. And it's like either it's going to be a hug or a choke out. And he's like, I love you.
Yeah.
And he just turns around and leaves. So
Right.
like by whatever it is, he defeated that challenge.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's just
And then
silly, honestly. It's just
Yeah.
kind of silly.
It
I
feels
just
like
didn't like.
You know what
didn't
happens
like this too
sometimes on the
much.
shows? Like I feel like they rationalize things a lot in the writers' room, and not all of that reasoning comes out in the final script. Sometimes it's like they expect you to really kind of do what they think is like. Yeah, this is kind of an obvious thing you got to think about. But then sometimes it's like,
Right.
Like
Well,
I got to watch twice, and I
yeah.
feel like this show is not a show I'm supposed to be watching twice to get it.
I
Like
agree.
God bless it, but
Bob,
Go ahead.
fair enough.
Sarah, how'd you feel about that whole charade?
I agree with what you all say. We already sympathize with Eugene. We feel for him. I don't know that we needed to watch him level up through the villains to get to the the final boss and defeat him so he could move on. It just
Right.
it felt a little cliche and a little like we got it. Although I will say this scene gave me Hitler saying "Wunderbar," which is my favorite part of the episode. So
Just the whole juxtaposition of Hitler saying "Wunderbar."
Nice.
Wunderbar. We can go now. I mean,
precisely.
out the window. Looks like Chad and
I
V's in the room.
could have done without that scene.
Yeah,
I'll
just a tighter
as we
version
go
of
through each scene, I'll just say that about every scene.
I could have done without that. Could have done without that. And I'll just say every one of them probably could have been tighter, done a little faster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, speed it up, sir. So speaking of speeding it up, so then in the next thing we get is a bunch of recappy kind of stuff that leads up to where Santa Killers was trapped in previous episodes. It kind of catches us up in a couple of heartbeats. So right now he's still punching at the doors. And
A lot of punching in this episode.
A lot of punching on the doors, and then we kind of dip
Some
into
would say too many punching. Too much punching.
too much punching,
Too many punching.
too much fisticuffs.
Yeah.
Too much bang bang.
So, what? Never mind. So we jump back into what is, not to be confused with all the flashbacking in Hell, but it's a real flashback for Santa Killers, and he's back at the farm. It's kind of like a little bit we didn't see before. He gets baptized. He has a picnic with his wife and daughter. He basically kind of cracks a smile, I think.
Yeah. Now I don't know if we heard his wife speak in the first season.
We did a little bit by the end.
Did she have a serious German accent going on back then?
Yeah,
Because I didn't
yeah.
realize it.
It might be a little bit more dominant now in these
Okay.
takes or something.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
so. I think that's the case.
I must
Yeah.
have just missed it then. Okay.
But maybe she feels like I gotta step up my game. They got this guy who's this other German character I have to like compete with. These other
Yeah,
Germans, Air Star, who's like not hardcore German, but you got Hitler running around.
Right.
And that dude's got a serious accent. Mostly serious.
Yeah.
So
Maybe she's slowly morphing into Hair Star.
I think, yeah. So I think I might have seen a smile there a little bit. There's a little salt in the milk. I guess makes shitty 1800s milk taste better. I would bet.
There you
That's all it would take. So then we cut back to it's a week later. Like a week goes by, he's down there punching at the doors. The Grail is actually pulling the truck out of the swamp. They're switching it out. We cut to them parking that
But
truck
one thing
in
I
a
do-
warehouse. Yeah, go ahead.
go. One thing I do want to step on right there is how they take the truck out of the swamp, and
Yeah.
then Hoover just hops right in and fucking drives it.
No.
Right?
He hops
Or
in.
like the other two guys just hop in and drive it.
It's on a tow truck. It's on a tow
Was
truck.
it on a tow truck?
When they take it out.
All
He
right.
does hop in the truck,
Okay, cool.
but
All
he's
right.
not like driving it.
All right,
I watched for that on the second watch because I caught that in the first. I'm like, what
Okay.
happened right there? That
Okay.
thing's not going to run. The fact that the lights are on inside, like in those glass cases where all those
Yeah.
soul vials are, like
Right.
And
yeah,
to
that's-
just happen to illuminate the whole thing for 2 weeks.
One thing too, I'd like your, I could ask your opinion on this,
Sure,
guys.
sure.
Like
Sarah can go first.
they they did this thing with the camera a few times where they had him look back at the vials
Right.
of the souls.
Right.
Did you guys think anything was going to come of that? Sarah, what'd you think?
Well, I was thinking something which actually comes into play later on. I'm thinking that he might have, for some reason, drank a couple of the souls.
Fair enough.
While he was in there?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
he needs a soul to get back into heaven, and he doesn't want Jesse to be able to control him. Jesse just gave him a little bit. If he drinks a whole soul,
Sarah.
But the thing is,
Well,
just
let-
before we get to Sarah, but the whole thing is with that, they have to be like they're like a blood type. So the reason why,
right?
like, none of those on the wall should be
Effective.
effective for him, because Jesse had to jump through hoops to get his own.
Well, not
for
to,
the saint.
not to shut down Sarah some more, but fucking let me say something.
Well, no,
Which
let-
is something I was going to mention later, real quick. Is that like when he does get out, you hear this beeping, and I don't know if that was the doors unlocking because Hoover's in there with him at that point, or if it's that device they used to do the soul equalization thing.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the last thing I wanted to say on that. Sarah, you have
The rest of the show was
yeah,
yours.
yeah, it's all you.
Well, you guys took everything. No, I agree that they focused on it a couple of times and in a way that made it feel like it's like Chekhov's gun, right? You see a gun in the first act, it has to go off in the third act. You
Yeah.
see a whole wall full of soul tubes, then who's going to do what with the soul tubes by the end of the episode or by the end of the season? But all these soul tubes, they're illuminated. Isn't this cool? And we're not going to hear about him again. But I do agree the camera lingered in a way that I thought, is it telling us something? Is it leading us to something? And then it never really followed through that I noticed. Maybe they'll pull it out in the finale. I doubt it.
You know what?
Well,
I will say this.
actually-
That the one thing I did notice that I thought they were doing was that they were using it to transition to him flashing back to his wife because she was talking about souls. So maybe it was a thing where like we just kind of got a peek into his kind of like what goes on in his head all the time about being obsessed with his soul, not getting into heaven and that thing. So when he would look at them, he would think about
Her, and that would get him
Yeah.
through the flashbacks.
Yeah,
right?
I think
well,
that it-
something that
but it was too
Okay,
heavy.
I could live with that.
Yeah, I think it was
But-
too upfront. It started to feel like no, it's not that. It means more than
right.
that.
Okay.
Go on.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you had something else?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to mention that while we're on this, still our buddy Chad in our Mixler chat here said
Sure.
that there were like the second or third time that we do go back to the saint looking at the vials. There's a couple empty ones on the floor, so it's possible. But I think it's I doubt it personally, but maybe it's possible.
right.
I do wonder if there is something else there more because
I don't know what it would really
You
do
gotta-
for
you got-
him.
Well, you
though.
got to remember.
like
you gotta-
where,
we do have to remember though that it's not necessarily just because Jesse was the only one who was compatible with him doesn't mean that he wouldn't be compatible with other people.
no, it's fair enough. I mean, like if you went through all those vials
You know,
there to try to find
I mean,
something.
it's just a combination of markers that a few different markers along with some other ones that are common ones, and
Also, too, I did have a thought that, like, what if this is kind of stretching a little bit, but what if there's a long game where it was like a double kind of a double twist where it's like this is a long con by Air Star to get Saint the Killers back in hell with extra souls or something like that for some reason.
That would be crazy.
Like, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like
that wouldn't even make sense.
Like, is part of the deal to trick hell into taking him back, and because they're gonna take him through some other door, he'll be able to sneak something in there, or maybe he told him, well, when you get to hell, why don't you kill Satan?
Oh, that's possible. That he's that's possible.
But
Yeah.
at the very least, they gave him a little seed, like, hey, we can't get you to heaven, but what if we got you, a throne in hell or something like that, or
well,
whatever.
I'll tell you what though, since we're going full spoils, on this show,
absolutely,
full spoilers,
full spoils, spoiling the milk.
He better kill Satan at some point, and he better get into heaven at some point, because those are two major. I mean, killing Satan ends up happening in like a side story of his throughout the run of the comic.
Right.
So it really doesn't mean that much to the Jesse plot.
Well, it happens in his origin.
But
kind of. You know what I mean? But so this is, I'm jumping ahead a little bit in a sense because I didn't think I would get to it so fast. But this is a theory that I was talking about before we went on air, that I was thinking that, like, if they like to kind of reshift stuff around and they want us to see that happen, like in present time, like they could have that happen now, and that's why Satan's not dead. That's why hell's not frozen over, because...
Well, we do know Satan's not dead because...
Well, he scheduled a meeting.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, hey, tell the big S, I'm waiting for him.
Right. Let's jump back into
Let's jump back into it. So basically, we come back. Now it's 2 weeks later. Well, during that first week, as it's sitting in the warehouse, Hoover gives him an ultimatum. And he's like, look, heaven's not an option, but we can give you the next best thing. Now, he doesn't say exactly what that is, so he's like, think about it. And then, like, Hoover pulls out a book. I paused it. It's lasers, basically. It's lasers, stuff about, like, literal lasers. So I don't know.
Design.
And he's highlighting. So what I didn't think the first time, I'm thinking now is like, A, is this some side project that nobody else knows about? And B, could he be studying for some new job? Like he wants to leave the Grail and like he's like, I'm going back to school, sir. Like when they find out, like I'm doing a, University of Phoenix through the mail, and he's going to be like, well, Hoover, we owned that as well. Of course we saw your name on the register, like that kind of thing, And of course, Sarah Netzley's listed, on that campus.
Right, that's
as,
one of his professors.
Yeah. Fucking Sarah.
100%. Yep.
100%.
He will fail everything. Mark my words.
So, just to round that up a little bit, and then so that in the truck he gets some more flashbacks for Saint the Killers. It's really just kind of like the wife stuff, and the souls. Another week goes by. That's the second week. Hoover is like, really consider the offer. It's a win-win. So, still punching those doors.
Yep.
Not getting them out. So
another annoying aspect of the episode.
Yeah, and then they do a weird thing where it's just like, just to let you know that we've caught up to present time, we see a quick shot of Jesse sitting on the man-dog couch.
Right, which was totally unnecessary.
Yeah, well, no, it kind of was, but but again, it's not a thing I think that was clear for people. It was like, why did we just see Jesse for 2 seconds? And it's because, they're playing catch-up, and they just want you to know that now we're at present day, because immediately we go back to Saint the Killers in the truck. Like, if we had just kind of went straight through that, you probably wouldn't have caught the timeline.
Right.
I think they felt compelled to have to do that to make it seem more logical. But, so anyway,
I also,
go ahead.
I enjoyed Jesse sitting so glumly on that couch because that couch has to be filthy. Can you imagine the germs and the stains on that couch? And there's Jesse. Whoa, God, dog isn't here.
Well, hopefully everybody's adhering to the sign, the one rule. Semen off the couch.
Out of the fur. There's nothing about the couch.
True.
I'm sure that couch, like Sarah's saying, you bring a black light to that thing.
Oh, right. It's only referring to the fur on the dog, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Crime scene. Yep.
Ugh. God damn it. So, so Jesse's on that couch real quick. We go back to the truck, and this time, though, it's the ending of last week's episode where the doors are closed. We hear like this beeping, and it's like, glad we got a deal. The doors open. Hoover runs at full speed, and so that's where, like, I listened to it a few times. I had meant to go back to that earlier episode in the season where we saw the soul thing stuff for the first time and see if that device was actually the thing that made that sound, or if it was the door of the truck, because it was like dee 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 dee.
I think that.
And then the doors kick right open, basically. So
I think it's
you
the
might
door.
Was the timing such that it opened the door?
well, there's
Or
it
was
stops.
or was it?
It stops. It's a line of dialogue. I'm glad we made a deal, and then he goes right out. So it's like, if Hoover's running at top speed like that, I could see him finishing the soul transaction as fast as he possibly could. And it's like, dee 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 dee. Okay, later. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Or maybe it's just the door code being punched. I really feel like I need to go back because if it's the other way where there's
Yeah,
something
that's true, 'cause
happened.
He did come out of the back of the truck. Mm-hmm. So.
So he was.
I just
so
don't
for
know what
some
the
reason-
extra soul thing would do for him.
I don't know either.
You know?
What could be the context, but it does raise a good
Well-
question of why would Hoover go into the back of the truck when he's been talking to him from the front of the truck with the CB?
Right. And scared shitless the whole time.
Right. So the only reason he would be going in there is to kind of do something
Form some
physically.
physical act on
You know what I
him.
mean? And hopefully it's not that one that you were talking about, Dom.
Well, it goes. Well, to answer what Don was asking, how does that help him?
Yeah.
If he's got more than one soul in his body, then Jesse can't talk to one directly. He has to know which one to talk to. So that's why the Saint wasn't able to.
Maybe that's why it wasn't working
Right,
later
right,
on
right,
because
'cause
it
remember I was-
glitches because it glitches later on for Jesse
Right.
on the
I don't
Saint of
follow.
Killers. So Bobby's saying that, like, basically because he's got like an extra soul,
Right.
it's just glitching the
Right.
word.
There's
The word
basically
can't.
he's got two people inside him. Jesse has to speak to one of them directly in order to get him to
I got you.
Follow
listen,
command.
follow, because
Yeah.
otherwise he's talking to a group.
Wow.
Right. So
yeah,
I wonder.
wouldn't like that. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what is that now?
No,
Come
yeah,
on.
But it is the way the show goes. It's a fair theory.
Yeah,
it's a fair thought.
that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Because
with all
otherwise,
this.
then it's also too. It's like, how does that key into what happened in the office with the secretary, with the
Right.
guy at the desk?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
But
Well, that's harder for him because he's given away a piece of Genesis along with his soul. Because remember, Genesis is bonded to his soul.
well, that's what I was thinking too. In general, is that like this piece of him that's going to hell is now Genesis going to be kind of broken until he gets that back from Saint of Killers or something.
Yeah,
You know,
and they're
maybe
gonna-
it wasn't like an initial breakdown. Maybe
Right.
it took a little while to marinate.
Yeah, I don't know.
And will they notice this piece of Genesis in the Saint of Killers?
Where they like set off a red flag.
Inside hell. So
Hey, as long as
But-
the saint isn't using the word on anybody, I'm good.
yeah, it's just.
I got nervous for a second, like when he told Tulip to stop, and Tulip does stop and give him a hard look, which we'll get to. Let me get back into this thing.
I was
Okay,
gonna suggest that as well.
yeah, so all this Saint of Killers business. Let's get past this. Saint of Killers is at a bar. He's got bloody knuckles, which I was starting to take as okay. You can hurt this guy. It just takes a while. It just takes a lot of beating. He gets whiskey. Where you from? Texas. What brings you? I'm here to kill a man. So basically, it's like a scene for
Nothing.
nothing. But he's stalling. I think we're supposed to get that he's kind of stalling. That he's not. You know what I mean? He's like thinking or some shit.
Well,
He's not
and
happy.
I will say the wife dialogue and the wife's voiceover is no more killing, no more drinking, so we can be in heaven together forever. And what we see in that scene, he sits down, he drinks, and he expresses his intent to kill. So it's like he's turned his back on his wife, he's walked away from their eternal hereafter plans together. But we get that. Again, this is something we kind of already know about the Saint. We know this about his character and about the trajectory he's taken. But still, no more drinking, no more killing, and we see him do the one and talk about the other. So I get why it's there, but like I get why it's there. So
So, like, do you think then, Sarah, that the reason why the Grail can't get him into heaven is because there's some like divine, like, I guess power or like defense mechanism of heaven that like keeps you out if you're a sinner, like the Saint? Like,
got to be, I guess.
like, or is it another reason, like
No.
that he's just not allowed there for some reason
Like
because
him
he's a
in
Saint of
particular.
Killers? Yeah.
I think it's your soul gets used up.
Well,
They're trying to show that earlier on in the season with the old lady.
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
more
do
or
the
less, I mean,
souls
that was-
directly affect your ability to get to heaven, though? I mean, that's deep then.
But then you
that's
had,
kind of what they
but-
were saying, though.
Yeah. So she's basically running on empty as far as her soul. So she had Parkinson's or Alzheimer's,
I get Sarah. What'd you think? What were we gonna say?
right? And then they gave her soul, and now she's better. You know.
Yeah, it just seems like the things he did in life and then to cause his death and the hell loop that he's been in, it makes sense that heaven has rules that would disqualify you at that point. I don't know
guess
about
so.
the soul measurement and things. I don't know, but
It's just like these
I
little
guess-
things that bug
yeah.
me. That like really I question, and I'm like, well, why? and what's the motive behind? Like why? Like why are they writing?
What is the
these
mechanics? How does
these
this
little
logic
mechanical
work?
things?
Like, what? Yeah, right. What is the basis for these rules? Where's the guidebook? Like, how
and
does
it
this...
drives me
Well,
crazy.
we read the
but-
guidebook, and they're not using the guidebook.
Drives me a little insane, but
All right, so we find Dennis. Dennis is creeping around in Cassidy's room. He's looking under the bed. He's very creepy. Cassidy kicks him right out, and then we find that Cassidy has hidden the dog in a dresser drawer to
Yeah.
kind of hide it from. The dog's name is Banjo, by the way. Banjo.
look, I know it's a small dog, but
So-
is it healthy for it to be in like that little drawer? I mean,
I thought it
don't
was
know.
ridiculous that the dog was completely quiet too. A little dog like that does not shut up for like hours on end.
No, an infinitesimal heartbeat.
You know what I mean? Like it would never, especially if you put it in a drawer like that and left it alone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that thing would never shut the fuck up, unless you had its voice box taken out. Not even that. It's making like weird, creepy noises. But Sarah, you were gonna say something?
Well, first of all, that tidbit is horrifying. Second of all, I know that Cass is trying to make up for years and years of neglect of his son, and now that he's got his adult vampire's newborn son, surely Cass knows that puppy is the worst possible choice. Like my friend Mimsy said on Twitter, take Dennis to Build-A-Bear. That's what you do with your son when your divorced dad got him on the weekends. You go, you build a bear, you pick out an outfit, you do the stuffing, you put the heart in, everybody's happy. That's going to be much safer than poor Banjo. Save Banjo. That's all I'm saying.
Hashtag save Banjo.
I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you. If this dog dies at any point, I will totally be triggered. I will have a serious issue
Same.
now with the show.
I think that's why.
Fuck you, Ed O'Hare. By the way,
Animal protection agencies would be in an uproar. Just the idea of it.
I think even as far as crazy as this show goes, they can't even bring themselves to do it because they would have done it by now.
Probably.
Because
Well,
Cassidy's
to be
eating
fair,
cats.
Season 1.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, Cass ate a dog in season 1. Tulip
Right.
got him a dog from the shelter, if you recall,
Yeah.
after he stepped out in the sun, and he did eat. Oh, I knew his name once upon a time.
wow,
but yeah,
I forgot about
Cass
that.
has eaten a dog.
That big beautiful mutt
was
that
rough.
they had in that
Yeah.
season. I forgot about that.
It was a beautiful dog. Yep.
Yeah. I
Do you-
like dogs.
Do you hate the show now? We made you remember season 1. Do you hate?
now?
Sorry.
Now?
That said,
You asked me this now?
I really liked this scene.
No, it was kind of cute. It was kind of like, oh, where is the fucking dog? And it's like, oh, he's got it stashed away. Which was like, I thought with a vampire's sense of smell, he would have found that a little sooner.
Right.
Oh, you'd smell the blood a mile away.
You know what I mean? All right, so anyway, tensions are running high there in the apartment. Tulip's in the kitchen staring at Cassidy's old finger still underneath the cabinet or whatever that is, under the stove, whatever's going on down there.
And they didn't catch that. They didn't see that when they dropped the egg, right?
I think it was seen like some other episode. They just never picked it up. Like,
Right? No, remember she dropped the eggs. It was well after he lost his fingers, I believe.
yeah.
You know, and
Fair
they,
enough.
And they bent down and picked them up. They didn't see it then. It's
There
been
you
sitting
go.
there for, like,
Continuity.
what, a week.
So Cassidy and Tulip kind of get into this little quick heated exchange. It's really because they're both kind of tense about what the fuck is going on with Jesse and all that stuff. But there was a funny line where it's like, Tulip's like, well, who the fuck put him in charge? And Cassidy's like, I thought I was in charge. And Tulip's like, no, you're like third in charge.
I did like that conversation.
Yeah, I did too, quite a bit.
So with that, we finally see the hidden camera that's like basically like right above the refrigerator. And we get a nice establishing shot of that because later on it actually falls. But we cut back from that camera into the apartment where Featherstone and Hoover are. And Hoover gets a call. He's on his way. and we kind of see some blurry figures over his shoulder, but we know from later on that that's actually the Hell Warden and like a couple of goons. And what that means in retrospect
do we
is
have
that
a
this
name?
has all been a... I don't know what her name is in the script. I've just been calling her Hell Warden.
Right.
Or just a warden.
Okay. I didn't think so either, but I just
Yeah, I'm
wanted
sure
to
she's got some kind of goofy name because they all have a goofy name. All those Hell people have a goofy name.
I could probably look it up on the IMDb.
Yeah, absolutely. Check
but,
that out. Do something around here. But
But we had a fucking producer for that.
nah, he's remote, very remote. He's like
this
a
guy?
state and a half away. So with that, Featherstone's like, this is worse than watching. This is worse than waterboarding. The call comes in. He's on his way. It turns out, it's all set up. And then Tulip and Cassidy. Tulip's like, well, we should just like go. Just us.
Yeah.
Well, what's her name? You found a name?
No.
Okay.
But
We'll just leave. We'll go to Bimini.
Bimini.
Bill, I have it. It's Mrs. Mannering.
Mannering.
I'm sorry, Ms. Mannering. Ms. Mannering. According to the IMDb.
Not as cool as I wish it was.
Yeah,
or, something like Lady Blackheart, or something, something. Miss Stone, Warden Stone, something like that. So, which, Cassidy goes, "Oh, alone?" And she's like, "Sure." And then
He gets hyped for a second.
the lovey-dovey music starts. Like he starts to hear her pulse in her neck. His vampireness, I guess, is getting keyed up. And then she's like, I guess. And then it all takes like a down note. So I don't know if it was like her indifference that pulls him out.
Right.
Or if he just kind of had a moment of clarity in general. But either way, I guess we're supposed to feel like, oh, he kind of got peaked for a second and then just kind of washed out. But some people are wondering if, this is the precursor to them maybe at the end of the episode going off on their own at the end of the season or something where it's just like, a tip to the book. But I think it's a little too soon for that. You know what I mean? To do like the book did, because the book does it, it's under different circumstances. But
Yeah.
I think to kind of kick around the conversation or have them consider it or even just have a couple of days without Jesse or something is just kind of like, maybe just like an echo of it, or like that's kind of playing with loose now with the idea. So it's not, it takes the punch out of it later on,
Right.
but the show likes to bounce around.
Yeah, I know that they're gonna
Yeah.
they're probably gonna have to do that when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to splitting the crew up, because if we're gonna get any of that Jesse stuff with his family
Right.
in Angelville,
Yeah.
that's gonna have to split them up, of course. So at least him and Tulip, anyways.
Right. And then,
Well, they're going to take Tulip out of the picture.
yeah, it seems like it, because that's how that kind of goes down, right?
Let's get back into the breakdown because I do have a funny
You got a little thing?
Tulip prediction
All right, so...
or missed prediction.
Okay. Right, the music takes it down tone. Jesse comes in. He wants to go drink. He doesn't really want to talk about God. And then Cassidy's like, oh, I got a potation in my room.
Right.
And then so Jesse kind of follows after her. Tulip lingers behind, and she sees that floor finger. Gets some tongs. I guess she throws it away because she starts taking out the trash. And then as she's taking out the trash, who does she run into? Oh, it's the Santa Killers. It's only the guy you've been nightmaring about for like weeks now.
I like this scene. It was cool. It was intense.
The reveal on him.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
Because she didn't scream.
We saw it coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can kind of feel it in the moment. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, you're by yourself in a hallway on this show.
There was emotion in the moment. I just knew from the fact she was taking out the garbage, it was time for him to pop up.
If one of these characters is clean,
He left a while ago, so he's got to pop up.
Yeah.
This is that. It's time. It's
Yeah,
just,
well,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. You can just look at the clock and be like, okay, how much time we got left?
Seen the clock.
It's just I guess I just watch too much TV. I get a feeling.
No, yeah, absolutely. Saw it coming too. So she's taking out the trash, and then there he is.
He's saying to kill his clock.
Yeah, he's heading for the apartment. She spins him back around to punch him. I forget what she screams, like, "Not my man," or some shit.
Badass fucking Tulip right
Yeah,
there.
it was a good shot, but he like
Yes,
backhand.
finally.
Yeah,
I mean, and hey, like,
Yeah.
he knocks her out,
But
on the floor, and for a moment
Yeah.
I was thinking like, is this how she dies?
oh yeah, because
Yeah.
I'll tell you, some of the stunt work is pretty
Spoiler.
crazy. Some of the stunt work is pretty crazy. Like when she goes and hits that wall, I was like, oh, that looked like a fucking rough hit, like on the hips.
And
or
later when he
something.
throws Cassidy through the wall, that was cool.
That
too.
and like even like when he's fighting Jesse now, like Jesse takes this shot to the face and goes hard down to the floor, and like it looked like real, like he got like faster than I've seen anybody like take a shot and go down to the ground, like you know what I mean? It was like, well, that's pretty fucking realistic.
Well, yeah, I think they use some wire food these days with those to so that they can like make those actions seem like they're more naturally reactive.
It's true. So no, Jesse and Cass are actually out there drinking that nasty homemade shit.
A nasty homemade shit.
Yeah, that's just how I have it described. Nasty homemade shit. Cass is mentioning foreskins, but thanks to closed captions, they kind of, as Santa Killers is walking around in their apartment, like you can't really make out what they're talking about, but they put it into the captions.
You threw the closed captions up, right?
So they were talking about Fight Club and how like there's this other theory that Tyler Durden is real in Fight Club. Not to spoil Fight Club for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but you're
It's
late.
been like
Wait,
25
what?
years.
Wait, what? There's a twist in Fight Club? So so he's going on about like, and basically like these two topics intertwine somehow. I can't remember the exact dynamic of it, but it's about like, these big conspiracy things and how like his thing with Tyler Durden, how he's the real one is because you couldn't run that kind of a job on that scale if you were ugly. So Tyler must be real because he's like good looking. So
Brad Pitt.
Jesse's like, so you're trying to say Ed Norton's ugly?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm just saying that he's the better looking one. So, people don't take orders or want to listen to ugly people. So, he's like, come on, man. Like, it's actually like worthwhile just kind of like really
is
just
good.
watching the exchange.
good.
It was actually the funniest thing. And I'm like, this is not even like no one's catching this. This might be the funniest thing. Because I was saying to you before the show, like the circumcision joke was kind of running its course. And I was like,
foreskin.
they got to bring some other kind of layer to the joke.
Absolutely.
And this was it. And it was hidden in the background. So Santa Kills is wandering around. He gets a knife. It's a little too big, I guess. He gets a smaller knife.
This one's just right.
Basically.
He takes the cord from the blinds, which we never really realized what he did with that, because he folds it up and puts it in his pocket.
Yeah.
Shoelaces.
And I thought at one point he was gonna like choke somebody out with it. Oh, that's right. He binds him because eventually
That's
Jesse
right,
ends
yeah.
up hogtied. So that's what he did with it.
Yep.
Okay. So
So he wasn't planning on killing Jesse.
yeah, at first I was like, he's gonna take the little plastic ends and try to use them as earplugs. Like
Aglets. Aglets. I said shoelaces. Aglets.
aglets. I know what they are. I learned from you. Aglets, folks.
I learned from Phineas and Ferb.
Look it up. So Santa Killers walks around, gets the knife, blah, 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 blah. The boys kind of like obnoxiously kind of call for Tulip to go get beers. It's like, go get your man a beer. And
Yeah, little
yeah.
ridiculous. But,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
that
know.
usually, but Jesse's like, well, that usually gets a reaction out of her, so something must be wrong. Because obviously, I think if you talk to Tulip like that, she'd probably be like, get your damn self.
Well,
like,
I don't think so though, because in the flashback from a few years back when they were living on their own,
Right.
I think it might have been in
They
Texas.
talk shitty to each other.
And like he asks, there's a couple times in that flashback where he asks her to get him a beer,
Right.
and she does it like
and
right
she does
away.
it. Yeah, she does it.
So I think that was just a thing between the two of them.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
it
know.
was just Cassidy being funny in that moment.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, he is a early 20th century Irishman.
The fact that he didn't
I'm talking
say-
about Jesse, though.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
Cassidy yells it out. So
Okay.
Cassidy's the one who says it kind of like a little, you could say like
Right,
a
okay.
little, misogynistic or jerkish. You know what I mean? But
Put
the only thing he
50
was
man a beer.
missing was the word wench at the end of it.
Yeah, well,
So the boys called for the beer. Nothing comes. So Cass is like, all right, I'll go get us some suds. Jesse goes, following after, but he goes and sits down in the living room. Cassidy goes flying across the background. And for some reason, a copy of Dan Quayle's book, The Future Will Be Better Tomorrow, falls down, and we get a split-second shot of the cover. That, like, when I pause it, I'm like, oh, that's Dan Quayle's book? Okay. There's a reference I get.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like,
they should have used the sequel, How to Spell Potato.
there you go. So much scruffle over an E. So Saint the Killers walks in. Where'd that come from? So Saint the Killers walks in. Should I make you beg this time? Jesse asks him.
Cocky.
Yeah, very cocky. Like, obviously the chip is running deep on him. Jesse tries the word, but this is what we mentioned earlier. This is where it's distorted. And then there's, I have here punches galore. Just a lot of punches. Cassidy goes into the wall through the bookcase. There's some more punches. Saint the Killers body slams Jesse through the coffee table. And then Hoover and Featherstone are still watching in the other apartment. Featherstone kind of thinks Saint the Killers is taking his time. Tulip comes back. She gets a shot or two in with a metal rod. And then I got a note here for the fact that he said stop to her, and she did pause. So I couldn't tell for a split second. I'm like, oh, is he going to be like, he's got like a tiny, tiny bit of the word? But no, it was just kind of more about, her.
Right.
Where her head's been with him, and that kind of like, freezes her a little bit. So then...
She's afraid of him.
Yeah, she goes back at him, punches galore again.
How did she not break a hand? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Plus, the way he's throwing around everybody, like, everybody should be in a wheelchair at the end of this one. Saint Killer's choke grabs her, which is, probably the one thing she was...
His signature.
Should have snapped her like a twig.
Yeah, really. He's
His
taking...
specialty move,
This is
WWE move.
Yeah, his Undertaker finisher. So then Jesse comes out of the back room. He's like, I thought you were here for me. So Santa Killers tosses her again up against a wall. But that shakes the camera loose. The Grail cam shakes loose from its very soft, gluey...
It looked like it was propped up by a piece of gum.
It looked like peanut butter maybe was holding it up.
Taffy.
Yeah. Caramel,
A couple
nougat.
melted blueberries.
No, they found some Nutella and they finally dried.
It was the only thing laying around. I didn't pick up glue, but I got snacks. So
Melted blueberries.
we come
I'm
back
going
from
with that.
We come back from the commercial. He's hogtied. Jesse's hogtied. Saint the Killer starts telling a story about meeting a scalper long ago at a bar. This is why he got a small knife, because he's going to scalp Jesse.
That's a nod to the book.
Yeah,
McCreary from the book.
he was a scalper, right?
He was a scalper, and he was telling stories.
Okay. So Jesse's like, Saint Killer's been curious about the sound ever since. He, wanted to hear it himself, kind of thing. He's doing this whole dramatic thing. Jesse
Kinda
says,
like ripping wet sheets, but not, right?
yeah, something about the ripping wet sheets. Jesse says, a man can change. Saint says, well, I tried. And he starts to scalp Jesse just a little bit, just enough to get a
I
little
thought he
blood.
got him better than
Like he
they let
did,
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed pretty intense.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
in real life, if you have a tiny, tiny cut on your forehead,
Oh, it just goes.
you bleed for days.
Yeah, it's the thin skin.
So yeah, just that little bit of blood there, and then a little bit later on,
It's kind of like
it-
running
it's-
down.
a little bit later on, like 20 minutes later,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah,
When
oh,
you see
yeah.
Jesse next time, it's gone.
So,
Hey,
But
it's
anyway.
Jesse fucking Custer. He's the toughest man I've ever.
Toughest-
He's scalping.
man.
We're at the scalping.
Sarah.
I like where the Saint's head is at, because Jesse would make an impressive scalp. With that hair, that's a scalp. So it's good thinking.
It's true. It's true. Maybe he was just going to give him a haircut, and he just couldn't gauge it because he's so tall.
Yeah, it's
He's
no
like,
wonder-
kind of like shed carpet.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. No wonder why he took so long to actually start doing it. He's like, I gotta pull this hair back.
It was all crunchy.
I gotta
from the
hold this
gel.
hair
Gotta
back.
saw through all of it.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you, Goku, with this haircut? All right. So that's that's for the kids.
Kamehameha.
What Bob said.
Yeah, whatever that was. So then basically he gets stopped because the Hell Warden and the goons have showed up, and they tell him, you got to go back, Kate. But Hell is empty from his slot. Thank you, Sarah, for laughing at my Lost reference.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
He's like, you can't do that. She's like, well, I'll put your wife or your daughter in there. God's gone. Who's going to stop me? And this gets like a little shot of Jesse kind of putting some stuff together a little bit, like, oh, God's gone. Hell knows that God's gone.
Yeah.
Rules aren't what they used to be. This is all part of reinforcing Star's plan, like to have Jesse see all this kinds of shit.
Right.
Because
Right.
she even says to him as she cuts him loose that, like, you're lucky you got a friend like Star. So this is all part of the setup to to push Jesse over there.
Right.
And I feel like, not to jump
Mm-hmm.
too far ahead, but I feel like by the end of this episode, if I'm a normal viewer of the show that hasn't read the books,
Right.
I'm thinking like at some point during the finale
Yeah.
or like going forward throughout the series that Jesse is gonna team up with the Grail. That like the Grail is like some kind of like anti-hero establishment, and like Hairstar really isn't that bad.
Well,
Like because they really haven't done a
what's-
great job of articulating like
what's good and bad.
right.
No, that's a great point because you know what? This show runs that line much more blurry than a comic does
Right.
of what's like good and what's bad and who's right and who's wrong, what's righteous and what's not. And whereas like, yeah, they're just as gray area as the Grail is.
Right.
So why wouldn't you think that? It's a great point. It's a great point. So with that, though, they take the Saint back. Cassidy's still stuck on the wall this whole time. We cut to outside a couple minutes later. There's like, an ambulance and stuff. Cassidy's taking the ride to the hospital with Tulip, basically for the blood run. It's a group convo. Basically comes down to, look, it all worked out. We're all good. Close the door on the truck. It's the Grail Industries ambulance. Dun, 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 dun. When we come back from commercial, Cassie and Tulip are in Star's office. And the Star...
But wait, I thought they were going to the hospital.
Dun, 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 dun. So they weren't that
Dun,
bad.
dun, dun.
They were given a Band-Aid and led into Star's office.
Yeah, put this on your hip. Don't worry that it's shattered into 1,000 pieces.
Right.
We'll fix it later.
Yeah.
Buy you a new one.
We'll get you a new one. What do you like, steel? So they're in his office, and Star basically, I don't have a lot of details on it, but Star basically starts telling them the truth, like,
Right.
to a degree. Who knows how detailed he really gets because we don't see it all, but it's like, Jesse's been keeping secrets, and, they kind of fill him in enough that later on they call Jesse on a bunch of stuff.
Which, in their defense, as whiny and bitchy as they sound,
Yeah.
they're kind of right, and Jesse's kind of a prick and has been the whole season.
Yeah.
So far.
So, and we're not the only
Especially to Tulip and Cassidy.
So we're going to get back to that, too, because I got a tweet from somebody that kind of hits on that point. We shut the door. No, I'm sorry. We get the thing with the Pope. That
Ooh,
the
yes.
Pope makes a speech. It's on TV.
Yeah.
God is gone, basically. But Jesus, or a reasonable approximation, is coming. So just kind of like hang tough. It's
And
kinda,
in this scene, the way I felt, and actually, Chad again wrote in the Mixler chat. We agree on the same thing here.
Sure.
That like, why would the Pope tell everyone that God's gone? Like, wouldn't that just totally make everyone go crazy and not believe them when they come in now with this new Messiah and this, like, when they do, if they are successful in making
Right.
Jesse the Messiah
Right.
and carrying through Star's plan,
Right.
like, what people would buy that?
yeah, like
You just told them
modern
God
day-
really isn't real and isn't there, kind of.
Yeah, well, he's
like-
gone. He's gone. He's real, but he's gone.
Right.
So we got to have hope.
Like, I feel like the world goes crazy at that
Yeah, I feel like that's why it's kind of like a thing too. When he said it, it's kind of like it felt like it might go both ways. He might be speaking metaphorically because he goes, "God is gone," and everyone's like, "Ah,
point. Yeah, I guess that's true.
from our hearts." Oh,
Right. Okay.
but
that's
he's
true.
gone, real gone, and like so, it's like, oh, could you? Like any other church message, it's mixed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess it's like maybe
He's trying to tell you the real truth while not telling you the truth.
Yeah,
I
like
guess
it's like
that's-
people who know will hear my coded message. You know, it's very Illuminati, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, don't you just wish that they could have found His Holiness George Carlin if he had been still alive to do this role?
Shit.
It would have been perfect.
I would have taken George Carlin as the Santa Killers at this point.
I just
On
remember,
stilts or
I just
something,
remember
but-
him in Dogma, and I'm thinking, yeah,
Yeah.
he could have done this perfect.
So Jesse comes back, and they're like, "Yo, they're home too. They're all fixed up. I guess the Grail has some good healthcare facilities.
Probably.
But they've got questions now. So Jesse's
Well,
like,
someone did have to get all that tape out of Hairstar's ass.
Well, that's true. We could mention that real quick.
We did.
We talked about before the show that like there was not any mention of that, and I thought that would at least be like a line of dialogue.
Right.
But the next time Airstar sees Jesse, it's not like, oh, by the way, real dick move with the tape,
Right, yeah.
making me stuff all the tape up my ass.
Sarah, did you notice that too? Because that was like one of the first things I said to Bill like before we started recording about like nitpicky things within the episode.
It didn't even occur to me to think about the tape incident. I was so amused by Cass being blown away by how incredibly attractive Hairstar was that sort of
That's
preceded
actually
everything else for me.
That's so true.
That's kind of them dropping the ball because you're talking about that's what happens in the book to him. It's like it's just this kind of continual thing.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to forget about these things.
Yeah. I'm sure he does.
You know, you want to bring each incident to its full completion.
Yeah.
Before you move on to the next one.
Well, it is kind of surprising from this show because they like to kind of call back their own jokes a lot. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a surprising thing that the next time that they see each other, there's no mention of it. Like, I wonder if maybe something got cut for time or something.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob, you might want to be careful when you're talking about bringing things to full completion when you're talking about stuff like that.
Oh!
Hey-o.
Hey-o. All right.
I'll take that under advisement.
There you go.
She is a professor.
She knows her
Yes.
stuff. So with that, they go to a diner because that's the heart of it. That's the heart.
Jesse
of
was
the
eating a burger and fries. Ring the fucking bell.
group. Ring the bell. He's eating
That's in the book.
They've been to diners before.
He's a
There's a
quote,
diner in the book.
burger aficionado in the books.
That's true. They
He
did.
says that multiple times. Like he says that in quotes. He's like, I'm a
Yeah.
burger aficionado.
Aficionado.
Or a connoisseur, maybe he says.
Connoisseur,
I think he
maybe.
says I'm a burger connoisseur.
Like I know a good burger.
Yeah.
Do they have like a 6-page fucking conversation about burgers like they do other things for no
Probably.
reason?
Stupid shit. Like this podcast does.
Yeah, basically. And then Cassidy, when we come in, Cassidy is talking about seeing a unicorn. At first, it's like, what the fuck is this guy even talking about? Because they love to do that, like bring you into the middle of conversation and you know it's something ridiculous. And then, like, you find out what it is at the end and it's like, oh, okay. For a second, I thought he was giving his origin to them. Because he talked about, like, it's down to water and it's just lapping up the water. It's like, and I was like, oh shit! Well, wasn't the vampire that made you a vampire just like down by the waterside?
Right.
So for a split second, I was like, that's just how easy we're gonna do that. Like I got nervous because the show makes me nervous.
I wonder if we'll ever get that, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
Season
that's-
3.
Season 5, probably.
Yeah, so it'll never get there.
We in the context of the books, I'd say season 5. The way this show runs, I'd say we probably missed it. It was probably like in season 1 somewhere, and we just didn't catch it. So Cassidy basically says, "All right, let's get down to it. We met your buddy Star, and he told us stuff. What's with this Messiah? That's like a joke, right? And kind of like no, like Jesse's like, considering it, and." Well, that's crazy. Like you, of all people, you drink, you fight, you break people's arms. Then Cassidy cuts Jesse off as he starts like talking about, well, listen, I made a promise. And he's like, yeah, I know you made a promise to your dad and he died. But that whole thing. But it comes down to, from what Tulip says, like, well, why do you even need us around? Like, and he's been so selfish for so long that, like, yeah, like in his headspace, he's like, he's got no answer for it, and it's like a very true thing. It's like, yeah, it made me realize it too. Like right now, there's no real bond between the three of you that doesn't feel like it can't be broken so easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas in the book by now, it's like, sure, like Tulip, even in the book, is not like 100% about Cassidy.
Right.
But like she knows that he's at least got their back to a degree. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So
And Tulip in the book knows how Jesse feels about Cassidy.
Right. And that's that's a thing. It's like we'll get into some more because I know that we have an email that addresses that a little bit too.
Okay, sounds good.
So moving forward, just to kind of burn through it a little bit because we're at the end here. They're considering it. What does it come down to? It comes down to what do you need us for? Then we go back to hell. Satan Killos gets in his cell. We mentioned this earlier. Tells Satan, I want to have a word. And she's like, well, Satan wants to have a word with you too. So, like I said, my theory is that, like, maybe he'll kill him. I mean, obviously, in the books, he kills him with the guns, and that's why he's able to kill him.
Right.
Because the guns are, like, possessed or whatever.
I can't see this happening in one episode next week before the season ends. I
think what might happen is that, like, they'll set that up, and it'll be, like, a cliffhanger for the end. Like,
Right.
Satan will walk in, you won't see him clear. It'll be, like, an over-the-shoulder shot because they haven't cast Satan yet or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, okay, yeah.
And so it'll just be, like, you know, Satan the Killer looking at him like, ugh. Just gruff.
That works.
So then we cut back to Jesse just at the diner by himself. The other two have just left. Jesse leaves the diner. I don't know why we needed that 3-second scene, but okay. He goes to Star's
That
office.
diner felt like the diner from Pulp Fiction to me. I don't know. It really did.
It's not as good, though. Not as good. The one in Pulp Fiction's got, like, a lot of room. It's spacious.
That's true.
So he heads to Star's office, and basically he's like, okay, well, what's next? You know, he's like, okay, I'm down. You know what I mean? And Star doesn't say anything. He gets up, kneels before Jesse, takes Jesse's hand and puts it onto his own head, like, you know, like, you're the one. This is what you do. You start fucking being the Messiah. And that wraps the episode, which is not how it ends the book.
Not at all.
And I'm going to put this forward because a lot of people were like, yo, what's up with that? Like, you know what I mean? That's a deviation. And I just feel like this whole idea that it starts with the simple seed of, in the books, you know, he wants to try and convince Jesse to be on his side. So this is just a more complicated, elaborate, stretched out version of that to get us to the end of the season. At the end of the season, no matter what happens next week, Jesse will get sour on the whole idea and change his mind, regret the decision, and it'll be kind of like in the book where, like, the offer is made, but it's rejected. You know, the events and the circumstances are different. They take a little longer, and they happen differently here. But that's, I think, what we're just getting. It's like, you know, he keeps making the offer, whereas in the book, it kind of is like it's a much shorter thing. So for them, I think for the show, it's like, well, we can probably get some legs out of that a little bit, and that could be our first season introduction of because they always think in season-long context. You know what I mean? For TV shows or shows like this, I would say, you know. So that's my one theory going out of it. But that's where we're at. We're at, like, the theories and thoughts and other questions. And we're going to, as, you know, we move forward, we'll get into a couple of tweets and an email or two. Sarah, any particular thoughts or theories coming out of your brainicle? If that is such a word.
Well, I agree with the sort of the consensus of the room, which is, you know, we didn't gain a lot of, I'm going to try to make a sports rep. We didn't gain a lot of yardage in this episode. You know, that's the last time I'll try to do that. You know, we didn't learn much about the characters. We didn't move the plot forward all that much. There were moments I liked. I loved the Grail's red and white dive suits that were completely spotless and mud-free, even though they were standing, like, waist deep in mud. You know, just little touches like that. The Dan Quayle book was amazing. I'd like to know if Tulip tossed the tongs that she used to pick up the finger. That feels like a Tulip thing. She'd just be like, well, these are going too. Not enough for each of the world. So little bits like that, the dynamic in the diner. I enjoyed the way Jesse and Tulip fucked with Cass so hard as he's trying to tell that story, and they keep interrupting and misinterpreting, and they're messing with him, and then it turns on a dime with them confronting Jesse and saying what is going on. And I like that kind of hints at that camaraderie that is at stake, but it's the first time we've seen it in episodes, it seems like. So it did moments of good things, but I'm not sure it necessitated a whole episode to get us where it left us. How about you guys?
I really could have said it better. Like, it felt like a thing where it's like they've got some things that they want to do in the finale, a couple things to wrap up here, but there wasn't a lot to kind of, like, get done that they weren't saving for the finale. So it was like, all right, well, how do we kind of, like, give a little bit more here? So it's like, have the killers take a little longer. We'll recap a little bit more than we probably should about Saint the Killers and how he ended up in the truck and his backstory. So it ended up being a thing where I think it got a little bit of filler into it to try and keep us engaged. Right. And in the end, for a lot of us, it's like, all right, well, you know, we know this, we've seen this, we're spinning wheels here a little bit.
Yeah, and
you know?
Part of the problem for us is that we want it to be more like the book, so we're sitting there watching stuff drag out longer than is necessary, and it's not stuff that we're all that into in the first place.
Right.
So now you're losing us totally.
Yeah, there's that too. So.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, I think it's gotten to a point now where it's better. I think it's 100% better than it was.
Yeah,
even at
yeah.
the beginning of this season.
Sure.
I'm pretty positive going into this last episode that I'm gonna like the direction that they take. Even though I have some problems with what they've done with certain little aspects. I mean, nitpicky things, of course, but I thought they stayed true for the most part of the season so far. I'm not scared about where they're going to go next week.
Yeah.
I think this whole thing with Jesse being the Messiah is either going to play out like you said. It's going to be a quick thing where they resolve it next week, or early next season, first 2 episodes, or he's playing Hairstyle right now just to get close to God and really figure some shit out, which I would like to be the way it does play out, because that would show
that he's sharper than
some sharpness to Jesse that we really haven't gotten yet.
we haven't seen like a lick of
Because
that.
he just seems like a brute.
Yeah,
like,
he just seems like a very average kind of guy. He's not like a little
like a
bit
tough guy.
sharper.
Right.
Like he's like a little bit witty and sharper in the books. Like, you know.
Way witty, yeah. Way more witty.
But one of the things I think is that we're gonna get. What if we got shit? I almost had it. I lost it. You was something on you was saying.
You lost your thought?
Yeah.
Sarah, you got anything to add to that? Sarah. Hello.
Well,
Aloha. Did we lose her?
No, I'm here. I just was enjoying you guys talking about what.
okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I am feeling good about what we've seen of Grandma and the family, and I'm hoping that will maybe factor into the finale. I honestly, I have to admit, I didn't watch the next week on, so I don't know what my deal was last night. So.
That's actually what was kicking around in my head, was that like from the next week on, it looks like Jesse's going to give this a little get a sampling of what being the Messiah for the Grail is going to be like. It looks like he's like I don't want to call it the world tour, but you know, it's a little bit kind of looked like that to me.
Okay.
So that's why I feel like he's going to get sour on it. They're going to start the process, kind of a thing like, all right, let's see what you do in this situation, or let's bring you over here and have you meet some people, or.
And then when he walks away, there comes Grandma Langell.
That's what I'm thinking.
You think they'll take him to Angelville?
That's what it was. Okay, so what about this for a little bit of a spin that came to me while you were talking, Dom? That, like, they do scoop him up, but even the Grail doesn't know where he's at. Like, you know what I mean? So it leaves off where the Grail is, like, looking for him, too. It doesn't, like, so next season, like, the Grail doesn't know exactly where he's at. And they're looking for him. Yeah. Jesse and Tulip and Cass don't know where he's at. You know what I mean? So they're doing, or they're just doing whatever.
Next season, by the beginning of next season, Tulip should have a bullet hole in her head.
Yeah.
Preferably given to her by the Saint of Killers.
Yeah.
Okay. That's.
Well,
I don't need that. I don't need that this season, though. I feel like if they do that this season with the Saint, it's rushed.
Right.
I feel like I'd rather wait and get it like mid-season finale next season with Grandma. Like build Grandma up first half, mid-season finale. I don't know.
Do it now, because she's been so
Bob's just done.
Because she's been so annoying for so long. And I'm not talking about the fact that I don't like this version of Tulip.
It sounds like that.
I'm talking about the Tulip
just so you know. The
Tulip that we've been getting for the past 6-7 episodes.
Yeah.
That's meandering, whiny.
So it is that you don't like her.
No, yes.
I mean, but I know.
You know what I mean?
It's layered. It's layered. I get it.
But thanks. I lost my train of thought.
I'm only kidding with you.
So,
but if they kill her off now,
no, it's the way that it's been going. It feels like that in my head when I see her feeling like that for this long, dealing with the Santa Killers, this fear of Santa Killers. Yes, at this moment she's actually seems to be over it.
Yeah. There was a confrontation. Yeah,
because there was a confrontation. But what if it's still not over? What if we still get a little more of the Santa Killers, or she gets shot in the head with the gun somehow?
Yeah, but he's in hell now. Like I think that opportunity was missed this week.
Well, maybe he gets out of hell. Maybe because he's got a little
remember,
bit.
In the books, it's not him.
There's a billion things that can happen because now that they've gone so far off of script,
Well, in the books, it's not even him that kills her. You know what I mean?
I know.
So
I know.
So as long as it's somebody.
I kind of like this. I like the sin of killer being in hell for a while, doing the thing with the devil. I really like that introduction to Grandma with her killing Tulip. I know it's not the first time we see her in the books,
Right.
but I think that establishes so clearly her character, and the holy shit of it all would be just. I think that would be a powerful way to introduce that character. And if it means that we get a rebooted Tulip, and if it means that her coming back kind of kicks off that reunion energy that the book had from the very beginning, because the very first Jesse Tulip reunion was, I thought you were dead, you were gone, I thought you left forever, here you are, I love you. I would love to see that energy and that relationship then kickstart when she comes back, because she was gone. I thought I'd never see you again, and then maybe we can kind of reboot that. And also, if somehow Jesse could get a personality transplant and quit being such a dick, that would be awesome. Well, I want to like him so much, and they make it so hard, so hard.
Well, I think.
Well, let me put.
Jesse goes through a growth period at the same time Tulip does in the books.
A little bit, but it's not as like pronounced as this would have to be.
No.
This is actually answering a question that we have from Twitter from Alex Jameson, who actually sent us one last week. He's like, my question is, do you think the writers are aware of how unlikable they've made Jesse? Mm-hmm. And I
think they have.
Good question.
I think it was part of their plan, but I don't think they were ready for it to be kind of like.
Received this so strongly.
Yeah. Like I think they're kind of misgauging how things are going to land with the viewership.
I think it's because they made a big mistake in thinking that they could take Jesse, a character who was so true blue American, down to the fact that he only eats hamburger. You know, he's a hamburger aficionado, a John Wayne fan.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, he is as apple pie as it gets, and now you've turned him into an asshole. You know, we don't make Americans assholes in our movies. We save that for the British.
Right. Well, I mean, and they definitely know because they've established it in the episodes. They've had him be cold on being literally selfish. Like that's what people have thrown at him. So, to a certain degree, like it's part of their plan. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least maybe for this season, for him to kind of like be in a place where he can be manipulated by Star.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think they're trying to build up that loss.
Right.
I hope they are.
Right.
This is why I was really talking about shooting Tulip by the end of the season.
Right.
Because these two characters need that to happen. Like Sarah was saying earlier.
Yeah, they need to lose each other.
The story needs to reboot them because what we got now is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, not bad, but unlikable.
It's uneven for sure.
Absolutely.
You know? So we had another one here from I can only see the handle, but it's I Love Proneus. It's actually Lynn's Loves Eugene, the Twitter handle. I really enjoyed the penultimate episode. Big setup for things to come. I think Dennis will try to attack Tulip, and maybe that's what'll set Cassidy off, which is a fair chance.
Mm-hmm.
I really was hoping that the Saint would have just killed him this week. Really though.
No,
I mean,
look, you
it
know,
would have been a great out. You know, like
yeah.
Cassidy wouldn't have had to kill his own.
They
son.
must have some more poignant thing planned. If Dennis makes it into season 3, like.
God help us all.
You know,
that's all I'll say.
He's just not doing much. He's just like, you know.
No, he's just.
It was one of those like, story ideas where it's like, I get it on paper, but I feel like in the end, you really didn't do a lot with it.
you
know?
Let's see him rip apart a couple of prostitutes down by the water or something.
But he's not
and have
part
the
of
guys
the
have
crew,
to go after
though.
the guy.
Yeah.
Right? No, he's just a leftover. So let him be left over. Go.
I feel like
get
you
rid
know,
of him.
It's either bring him into the crew or get rid of him. Like I have no problem with them adding him into the trio. If there's a foursome, that's the Preacher Roadshow that is in the books.
Yeah, are they going to be?
I'm fine with that. Just make him be a part of it. Give him personality.
Yeah,
give him character. I have no problem with having 2 vampires. That's fucking dope. Like
You
So make a part of the group.
You guys
Just
would be
get-
amazing mobsters. No,
The New York accent's
bring him
going
into
on around the
crew or
table.
off him. Well, yeah, and also, you know, bring him into the crew or off him. What's he bring to the table? He's got nothing cut.
exactly.
He's a good earner. Listen, he's a good
I can see
earner,
it.
all right? He brings in, you know, the envelope is nice that he brings in. But,
He collects a good vig.
yeah, Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I was telling Dom at one point too.
He
I
did
was
a
like,
good job.
I was like, either like I don't want either of them to do it, but it's almost starting to feel like either like Dennis or Hitler is going to end up being like the fourth guy in the group now that used to be, the fifth wheel because it was like Arseface and the three of them is kind of like the main characters throughout the book. You know what I mean? And if like Dennis or Hitler ends up being like some new add-on, it's like it's
Maybe
like
they're
when they
replacing-
add.
Maybe they're the replacements for the sex detectives.
Jesus Christ.
We'll see Dennis and Hitler going around.
What was
on
the
their
rest of the
own.
question?
What was the rest of what this person was
Yeah.
saying? So she had another one. It's like, I guess the theory is that maybe we'll see some Masada stuff. So do you think that the Diaronique or Humperdoo and Masada stuff will be put into the season finale? Maybe with Jesse maiming Hairstar's head, like all of that? 'Cause
I'd like to
I
see-
hope not, because it'll be too soon, is how she finishes her point.
I
I'd like
agree.
to see Darwanique eat Humperdoo.
I just want to see him eaten.
I don't think we're gonna get any all father, right? That's it.
Yeah, all of the
Allfather?
All-Father.
I don't think we're gonna get any of him this season, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of Humperdoo and Masada. Maybe. I mean, it's
next week
it's
would be the
not
time.
likely,
Like
but
if-
it's possible.
Because if Jesse's being brought into the inner circles,
Right.
we might start to see more. He might finally go to Masada without the hood on,
Yeah.
and take in some things.
Will Cassidy and Tulip get a look?
Hopefully not. I mean, that Tulip never gets there, right? In the book?
No, not in the book. But
No.
does the book matter anymore?
No.
That's-
What's book schmuck?
Sarah,
And isn't that doesn't Jesse intentionally leave her behind, drugs her or something, so she
Yeah.
can't go?
Yeah.
That's the trip that he
Yeah.
does that. So
yeah, that's
Well, he goes there because they take Cassidy thinking that it's Jesse. And
Right,
he goes there
right.
to save Cass. So that's how that pans
and they're
out.
like, this guy won't die.
Right.
This guy won't die.
Yeah, they just keep shooting him.
Right.
Yeah, they bring in
They got him down in the
the guinea
concrete
from
hole.
New York, the guinea mobster,
Yeah.
fucking Frankie or whatever his
Just
name
keeps
is.
cutting him up.
I think it is Frankie.
I don't know. It's something stupid like that. Some dumb Italian
He's the
stereotype.
Frankie Manganiello.
It's Gino.
I think that was it. It was like
Frankie Manganiello, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
So
Gabagoots.
we do have an email. I guess I could use this.
Nice voice there.
That's a sexy voice on that person.
That's a cross promotional thing right there, because you can hear that also on the Wicked Theory.
That's
podcast.
right. That's right. So nice setup. So this one is from Stephanie Muniz, host of the Gotham Lights podcast.
Hey, Steph.
Big friend of the show.
Yeah.
Has been with us a
An
long
awesome podcaster in her own right.
and has been with us on this long journey
Yes.
to
Good
where we
friend.
are today, because she's one of the ones that before even we started this show, we were like, hey, we're going to do it. Get the books, get the books, get the books. She read all the books. She's been with us on the journey. We haven't heard from her lately, but she's been watching. So she's got some things to say. It's a little longer than we're used to. Not crazy long, but she does echo a lot of our statements here. She says, howdy, pilgrims. It's been a while since I emailed, and it's a bit lengthy. Sorry, Bill, but I had to vent. I have to be honest. If there wasn't only one more episode left, I'm not sure I could bring myself to keep watching. The only good part of this episode was that they found a way to get the Saint Killers out of the storyline after having served his purpose. But let me be clear, I'm using good part, quote unquote, in the loosest terms. Why should I care about these characters anymore? I was willing to tolerate a lot of changes, since I've never considered myself a comic book purist. Otherwise, Gotham Lights would be a much different podcast, is what she says. I don't read enough comics for that to be the case. But I still can't help but feel completely not invested in these characters. I don't understand why Dennis is still around. Aside from being a farcical plot point of will he or won't he eat the dog, they want to keep him around, fine. But can someone please explain why I don't give a flying flip about our main characters anymore? Like why she wouldn't care about them. Jesse has accepted the role of Messiah according to Airstar's plan, just like that. And he basically told the love of his life and his best friend that he didn't need them. I can deal with this up and down crazy relationship that Jesse and Tulip have had during the show thus far. But if he is so willing to turn his back on her now, why should I care about them anymore either? At this point, the only love I have any faith in is actually Featherstone's love of Airstar and Hoover's love of Booberry. Please, please, someone talk me off of the ledge here, or I may not be back for season 3. if there even is one. Did I miss a redeeming factor for this episode while I was too busy fuming over Tulip giving up on Jesse again? Help me, Bill, Bob, Dom, and Sarah. You're my only hope. Also, hi, Sarah. Nearly halfway through Supergirl Season 2. Then it's on to Legends. Just wanted to let you know I'm way more excited about watching those shows and The Tick than I am about next week's finale of Preacher. Sorry again, Bill. I digressed. Steph, no problems there. She signs your pal, Steph. So
Thank you, Steph.
All right. Well, first,
An awesome email, Steph. Thank you.
yeah. Well, I mean, hey, first, thanks for the email stuff, of course. But I don't know. I think you just gotta hold the hope that they'll really hit their stride in season 3. I think we've seen potential for it. I mean, I can't disagree with her when it comes to not really feeling
connections.
too much affection for the main characters and any character really in the show other than Hairstar.
Yeah, I'm giving every episode about 15 minutes before I pick up my phone and start playing around with Facebook while I'm watching the episode.
Yeah.
Bill can attest to that.
But I mean,
I'm trying.
Yeah, I mean, totally fair points across the board from Steph there. But I don't know.
Absolutely.
I got to stay positive.
Yeah.
I don't think
I think
we could really bash it
Hey,
anymore.
Look at it this way: it's
Too
nothing.
hard.
It's nothing a complete reboot couldn't cure.
Well, that's where I could go with it too. I can, to talk you off the ledge a little bit, stick around for the season finale, see where that lines up, because I feel like that's the thing where it's like, all it's going to do is set up season 3 and let you know where that's going to stand. And I feel like, because I saw other people tweeting that too, like, oh, Jesse's just going to like go in with that easy. And not even just this show, but even with TV, it's like, if that feels like that hard of a character flaw, then don't expect it to fucking happen.
Right.
Like, they're going to pull the plug on that at the last minute. They just want you to set it up for, he's considering it, or he's fallen, he's been convinced, he's been confused, and, we're going to straighten it out. It's going to come back around. I don't know, if it's going to come back around to the point where, like, the writing changes and we start to really kind of feel for it. But I would say at the very least, my hope is that to ride through season 3 and see where the Angelville grandma stuff goes, because I think that will probably destroy us if they really fucking muck up that storyline too much.
There's no reason to do anything with that storyline.
Everything we've said about everything.
But everything that they've
enough.
done up to this point, Angelville is still salvageable.
Right.
Nah, well, I think
you didn't change too much. You didn't get into it too much.
Yeah, you didn't lock yourself into anything just yet.
Right.
I think it's wild to think that
So-
they're not going to change it.
I think the
Because
whole Souls thing will.
just the way they've
which I think
the track
is,
record.
This whole Souls thing is really something that bothers me.
So I mean, we can't hold on to the book anymore. Really, is what it comes down to.
It's hard.
Chad points that out in the chat
Yeah,
here.
no, you really
But
can't.
I'll echo that sentiment because I'll let Sarah chime in because I think she feels the same way. But it's at this point a total. It's not really it's not interpreting the book. It's just taking the book and
It's just-
making another story.
Right, yeah, it's
about
just
it.
taking what it likes from the book and keeping a skeleton
Right.
and rewriting everything else.
Sarah, thoughts?
Well, I agree, and if the show had kept some of that sort of gleeful manic energy that it did really well, and I think the early episodes of this season, I'd be more excited about the back half of the season. But the momentum has stalled, and the storytelling has sort of cycled through some of the same beats over the last couple of episodes, and it's really dampened my enthusiasm for the show and where we're headed. But I agree with you guys. All signs point to Jesse's family backstory not changing all that much yet, and the building blocks are sort of the base is in place there to build on what the comic did. And boy, I hope they stick with that, because that would be good TV. That would be exciting. I would really like to see that. But more importantly, I need to say, hi, Steph. Let's talk about how amazing Callista Flockhart is as Cat Grant on Supergirl. Let's do that for a second.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. I think that pretty much sums up what everyone's feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I think the thing is that coming out of it in the end is going to be like, that's what's kept me going, is trying to just I know like some people like kind of get annoyed. It's like, why do you like, we had that in one of our reviews on iTunes. It's like, I can't stand shows that where like guys try to anticipate like what the writers would do or wouldn't do. And I'm like, well, what else is there to do with a TV show but theorize, right? You know what I mean? So that's all that keeps me going, is just trying to like sometimes like, try to figure out what they're doing and how they're doing it, because sometimes I feel like they're just trying to repackage stuff that's in there, into a different way. And sometimes I'm cool with how they end up doing it, you know what I mean, and making it work. Like the idea of like, if I'm right about like the idea is just to kind of take like Jesse's initial offer from Hair Star and just kind of like drag that out and show it in a different way. That's like an example of like the things that I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, and like Jesse's like growth into a badass dude.
We also
shouldn't
have to
take this long, but I feel like that's what they're doing, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the decision on becoming the Messiah, I think we kind of have to take that with a grain of salt when comparing it to the book version of Jesse. Like, this is a totally different character, so
it's true too.
The Jesse in the books totally slapped that shit
like
away immediately, but this Jesse's kind of a little bit more
of a wishy-washy.
He's not as
clear cut in his decisions in a way.
Right.
Like,
he's not as stand up as the book Jesse is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's about it for me and theorizing. There's really not much else.
Sorry.
I've wondered how those comic characters would hold up on a TV show, because Comic Jesse is a good guy, and that really is his overwhelming identity. And Jesse and Tulip's relationship is, I mean, it's strong, it's good, it's loving, it's supportive. They have some major hiccups, but for the most part, it's pretty good and supportive and calm. And I don't know how compelling that is as a TV show, but I think this show went a little too far in terms of gotta make them interesting, gotta make them nuanced, and it has turned the corner into made this couple that shouldn't be together and made these two miserable people that shouldn't be around other people because they're so awful.
No, you know what? That's a fair point too. Because as soon as you were saying that about like how would a very faithful Jesse and Tulip translate, like I could see that kind of feeling a little too neat and perfect. It's like, you know what I mean? But I think you tone that down too. Yeah, like, you bring a little bit of the grounding in.
You solve a whole bunch of issues just by making it a period story.
There's that too, as far as like,
I mean, the whole John Wayne angle, the cell phone issues, all that stuff goes away if it's set in 1990.
There you go.
94, somewhere around there. It all goes away.
It all goes away.
And you know what else can go away? Most of the shit we're watching on TV.
Just about everything. It's all make-believe. Yeah. I don't know if you know.
It wouldn't affect the book at all.
That's true. But, so that's really the big hope as we're going into the finale, I guess, is just seeing how, in general, it sets up season 3.
Yeah. And you just hope that they use this opportunity to right the ship.
Yeah.
Get a new focus. Get away from a little bit of the personalities that we've been seeing this past season and a half.
Yeah.
And rewrite them a little bit so that they're a little more familiar and a little more palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. There has to be an awakening somewhere.
It can happen because you got Jesse. He can go back in the freaking coffin. And Tulip, she's going to get her brains blown out, or God's going to come down and give her a finger on the forehead and kill her, and then wake her up.
Well, I'll tell you what, though.
So,
if anything's going to make Jesse into a guy who's like I'm not taking anybody's guff anymore. It would be all the shit that happens with Grandma and the Tulip thing. That 1-2 punch. If that's what they want to do, if they're going to hit him with both of those at once, kind of a thing, because they have teased that some big crazy thing is supposed to happen in the finale.
Yeah, and basically what they were hinting at.
Feels like
killing Tulip.
Yeah. So with that, I think we've exhausted ourselves and the listeners probably. So big thanks to and Bob's tired too.
Me too.
We're all a little tired.
I gotta go to bed in about 40 minutes.
So Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at him, so it sounded very aggressive. I got to go to bed in 40 minutes. I'm like, oh, all right.
It wasn't pissed off aggressive.
No, I just couldn't. I couldn't see you, and so like I don't know which way that came.
Wrap
from.
this fucking thing up.
I'm like, all right, I'm trying.
Yeah. All right.
So with that, just a big shout out to Steffi Muniz for sending in the email. You can send in emails too. Send them to pvp@wickedtheory.com. Big shout out, big thank you to Sarah Netzley for hanging out with us. Sarah may or may not be able to make it. We're going to see how it goes for our finale coverage.
Thanks
At the
to-
very least, we always have Angel Palmer around. Not to mean that in a slight in any way, shape, or form, but that's our guy. So you can follow Sarah on Twitter at Sarah Netzley, SARANETZLEY. Did it without looking this time. And she's really awesome. You should be doing that. You know what I mean? That's just how that goes. And she's got awesome cat pics. So
Great tweets
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I do.
Original
It's all
content
cats.
daily.
It's all cats and TV, my friends. Cats,
It's all
and,
cats
TV.
and TV. The two best. The internet loves both of those things. You're doing pretty good there. So
You just named Reddit. Like you just described Reddit to somebody. Like someone just asked you what's Reddit, and you were like internet and
Cats and TV.
yeah,
cats and TV.
Cats and
TV.
TV. That's it.
Cats and TV.
basically it. Cats and fandom. We'll just not a blanket
Yeah.
everything.
No, there you go. There you go.
So once again, with that, thank you to the listeners for listening. Check out the hashtag absolute PvP hashtag on Twitter, and if you think you can beat what everybody else is doing, do that. Go to wickedtheory.com, see what the contest is all about. Get yourself a hardcover, oversized $100 book featuring Preacher.
Doesn't it list for like $150? Really?
Suggested retail price is like $150, but we're gonna be honest.
Yeah.
People can find it where I'm buying it from for $100. Certain because like one edition is $120, one of them is $100, one of them's
Okay,
like
there's very
$111.
different versions.
Well, no, just at Amazon because of
Okay.
what's in stock and how they adjust their prices.
Right.
You know what I mean? So with that, thanks for listening, and come back soon. And until the end of the world, take care of yourself. I guess I don't know. Until the end of the world.
Peace. Later.
Yeah. But hitting all the wrong buttons this time, kids.
Jesus Christ, Bill.
Amateur hour. I should have them labeled what they actually are.
Jesus
that might
Christ,
help me.
Bill.
All right, try it again.
The Wicked Theory podcast is heard live every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern until whenever. Just go to mixler.com/wicked-theory. Mixler is MIXLR. Sign up to join the chat. Then click the follow button to get reminders whenever the show goes live. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, wherever good podcasts are given away for free, and at wickedtheory.com. You can support the show at patreon.com/wickedtheory. There you can get the after show if you miss it live. God forbid. Plus other exclusive episodes. As always, send your emails to podcast@wickedtheory.com.